Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Doctor Who 60th anniversary celebration. Today, we're going to be talking about the fourth ever story, which is called Marco Polo. Marco Polo was sadly lost from the archives due to a bit of a scummy practice done by the BBC, that where they would basically erase old tapes so they can tape over it with new programs, which meant that a lot of the first six seasons of Doctor Who were sadly lost to history. Unfortunately, we don't have a TARDIS to go back and review and watch those episodes the way they were transmitted to television. So what we have are telesnapping instructions, which are literally just screenshots of the episodes presented together in like a presentation. This is pretty. And some other stories were also animated, which I like those animations for the most part, and I'd prefer to them to live action reconstructions, but unfortunately those kind of things are understandably pretty expensive to develop for big stories like this one, which is 7 episodes long. Marco Polo, much like this episode, picks up from the previous one. The TARDIS basically lands in like a mountaintop in China, where basically they're met by this caravan who's later revealed to belong to Marco Polo. They steal the TARDIS, and Marco Polo basically makes it his mission to deliver it to Kublai Khan, or present it to Kublai Khan as like a prize or consolation prize. I don't know. He just wants to return it to Kublai. He just wants to give it to Kublai Khan. This basically creates like the sprawl. This creates a sprawling tale of like backstabbers and people who have ulterior motives, which is actually pretty sad, seeing as from what we could tell from the screenshots, that this world would have been truly amazing to witness in live action. But sadly, that's not really the case, and it's not really an option. This story is pretty great, and I find that even with this telesniper construction, I find it like topping lists of people's favorites, and to be honest, I really like it. I think I think contrary to popular opinion, I personally prefer like the back half of this story. I feel like the plot actually starts to happen because most of the story is traveling, which in the 1200s was really boring, and in the 1960s serialized format, that's bound to make some slow television. Uh, there's this main villain who, for some reason, I'm blanking on his name, but I remember he's basically trying to sabotage, Marco Polo and his clan, and of course the Doctor and his friends, who are basically tagging along Marco Polo in an effort to take the TARDIS back. I really like this. I feel like Susan starts to become more of a character. Like she's actually developing a little bit as far as characters go, because she meets like a young servant girl, I believe, of Marco Polo, who's also like the same age as her, 16 years old, and they become friends, and I find that as a nice little touching moment for Susan. The story itself, as I mentioned before, it really drags, and it's pretty, and it's really slow, which is actually like kind of aided by the fact that it's screenshots, or it's the whole thing is literally screenshots, because this story was so thoroughly destroyed that not a single clip actually exists. It's all pictures, which I find really depressing, and the fact that Part 4 literally had none of its own screenshots, so they had to reuse some screenshots from older episodes, which is really unfortunate. I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoy this story, because it's the first kind of like real like sprawling, is the most ambitious kind of story I've seen, or at least thus far in the season or in the show. I think there are a lot more other stories that kind of take on its ambition, or like take on like the kind of the scope, but they don't really achieve like the same kind of achieving. It's really hard to describe. They kind of like doesn't hit the same level of ambition, and that's pretty much all there is to say about the story. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.